Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you guys some tips on how to get better movement inside XDEFIANT, and if they do change how the movement works in the future, I will do an updated video on that. But for the most part, I don't think the movement will change much from here. They'll probably nerf air strafing, which we'll get into in just a moment. But first, let's go over something very important you first need to change. In your settings, you'll find an option for auto sprint. Please make sure to enable this. What this means is on mouse and keyboard, you don't have to press shift anymore to sprint, and on control, you don't have to press your left stick down in order to sprint too. So this way you prevent your controller from drifting way later than it has to. You get a big advantage by not having to press the button down, so there's no delay when you want to sprint. All you have to do is just press forward and you'll start to sprint. But I will get into more in-depth settings later on. Let's first go over some movement techniques you need to know about. Now, we all know from these latest patches that you can't spam crouch or spam jump anymore because you get the sway. And if we give it a second and when I jump, you'll see I also get a penalty on spamming jump. But there is a small workaround to this. So the jumping and the crouching is not one thing, if that makes sense, which means that if you jump and then crouch, you won't get a penalty for it. As you can see there at the bottom right, I'm jumping and then crouching. If I were to just do one repetitively, I would get a penalty, but now I'm just doing both. And you're getting the best out of both worlds by just jumping and crouching. But as you can see, I'm also not doing this really quickly. Then you'll definitely get a penalty. However, if you just learn to time it a bit more in between your actions, then you'll see you're getting a penalty way later on than what you normally would. So yeah, obviously, you don't want to spam anymore because you're going to get some sway. You also don't want to be spamming jump anymore because you're also going to get sway. Now, as you can see, I've been doing this already quite a bit, but this is air strafing. What you're seeing is I'm jumping and then I'm just changing direction mid-air. This is also a very controversial thing in the XDEFIANT community, and whether or not they're going to nerf it, I'm not entirely sure, but if they do, I will make an updated video then. But air strafing is really simple. You're just going to be jumping and you're going to be moving in one direction mid-air. This makes you a really difficult target to hit, especially in the close range gunfights. Now, a lot of new people I see, they don't actually make use of slide cancelling, and you might think it is useless in this game. So there's this thing in the game, it's called a super jump, and the way it works is if you press your slide and your jump button together, you jump way further and it'll just send you flying and it will catch your opponents off guard if you just like super jump around the corner. But another thing I just like to do is normal slide cancelling, and it's really simple to do. All you have to do is just slide and then press your jump button, and as you can see, we're carrying over the momentum from our slide onto our jump, and this is especially useful if you're trying to chow someone around a corner. So let's say this target is someone holding an angle on me from this corner. Now, you're of course not going to be exposing yourself like this because then you're just going to be getting shot first, and because of Pika's advantage, you'll most likely just die the moment you peek. So how would you chow this? Well, you can either super jump it or you can just slide cancel around the corner and then chow them. And if you think about it, when we look at this POV, they're probably going to be aiming somewhere around here for head level, and the moment you slide across the floor, they're going to have to adjust their aim to the floor, and then once you jump back up, now the aim is going to be up here. So in the meantime, you're going to be spraying them down. You're most likely going to win the gunfight if you come around this corner slide jumping. But as you can see, I'm not doing this in a perfect straight direction. I'm not sure if this is possible on a mouse and keyboard. You can basically run side to side in this game. As you can see, I'm not moving straight forward. I'm actually just moving kind of left and right while still sprinting. And that is how most people can chow you around corners. Pretty useful if you really want to like retake a corner like this, instead of first sliding forward and then turning, because you can just do this, and it's really strong to use. In this game, the hipfire accuracy is not bad at all. As you can see, when we're sliding, our reticle isn't that big off the bat, which means that if you slide and shoot, you're not going to be that inaccurate. And for a lot of situations, this could be useful, especially if you're right against the target when you just want to slide and shoot him. So many of these bullets will hit, and it's probably the best way to kill someone close range by sliding below them and just spraying them hipfire. But this strictly applies only to hipfire. Once you actually start to aim, you'll see I'm now just cancelling my slide and I end up in the crouching position. As you can see, it just stops our aim completely the moment we ADS, and I guess it could be useful, but if you really want to ADS while you slide, there is no real way to do it. However, what you can do is the moment you stop in your slide when you ADS, you can just jump. And as you can see, our gun freaks a bit out. It looks like we get some crazy bobbing. And the way you avoid that is by doing it in a different order, by just sliding first, jumping, and then ADSing instead of ADSing in your slide. Another thing I sometimes do is you can spam your ADS and it will look something along the lines of this. Pretty much instantly shoot, and you still get pretty decent movement speed out of it. But is this really that practical in-game? Probably not, especially on SMGs where they already have a quick ADS speed. You don't need to do this. On bigger guns, probably like LMGs or marksman rifles, something in that lane, this might be a bit more useful. So if you're familiar with games like CSGO and Valorant, or in Valorant, I believe you can like jump peek a corner like this. You could definitely do that in XDEFIANT too with the whole air strafing thing. So let's say I want to try to get intel on a corner. I want to know if someone is on that target. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be air strafing back and forward like this to see if someone is actually on that corner. And the thing about XDEFIANT is because it doesn't penalize you too much when you jump and shoot, you can actually just shoot this while you're dealing this corner. This could be practical in some scenarios, but another really cool mechanic for air strafing. Alright, now let's get into the settings. As you can see, for the most part, my settings are still the same after my last video. But like I said, yeah, the most important things here is your FOV needs to be on the highest, which is 120. ADS field of view needs to be on consistent. This ADS transition needs to be on instant. This was off for some reason, but aiming interrupt reload needs to be on. That way you can reload cancel. You can check out the rest of these settings. Height limits. Now you can turn this down if you want to. And then your height will be a little bit closer to the center of your screen, which means you can see the minimap a little bit easier. So when I'm making videos, I normally try to turn this one up because it just doesn't look that nice on a video. Then some people ask me how I get the damage numbers. It is here too. Your damage number needs to be on. Enemy health bar is on, obviously too. Minimap rotation I keep off. It just looks way better on the minimap. The team composition overlay. You can see what faction your team is playing, how far their ultimates is charged and all that. And for the enemies, you can just see who they are and what they're rocking. Maybe if they switched and when they respawn, which is pretty nice. Then for the controller settings, my controller settings haven't changed much. The most important ones here is make sure your aim assist, strength and follow is on 0. I have heard though, if you put this on -2, it'll prevent your aim assist following someone else when you're currently busy shooting someone already. Personally, that doesn't bother me too much, so I just keep this on 0-0. Reverse S-curve feels the best for me, and for movement players, I definitely recommend you trying this out over linear. Reverse S-curve just feels a lot like Call of Duty's dynamic response curve, especially if you like to turn really quick. This one is the way to go. Then my sensitivity, I bumped it up by 20 from 60 to 80. I just feel like with how the aiming feels in this game, a quicker movement speed doesn't bother me all too much. ADS sensitivity multiplier, I keep this on 0.80, so it's a little bit slow when I ADS. So date zone settings are completely up to what type of controller you have. If you have an older controller, you might have to bump up your date zones. It's just how much your sticks drift essentially. So I have a little bit of drift on my left stick, which means that if I turn that to 0, my character will start moving on its own, something along the lines of this. So I just bumped it up to 3 and I no longer get drift. So if you have any controller drift, definitely come check out the date zone settings. The thing that you need to do is you need to try to get it to the lowest that it possibly can be. And in my previous video, someone said this doesn't improve the response time of the controller. Yes, it definitely does not improve the response time. However, it does improve how quickly your character moves, because that inner circle is now at its smallest and you don't have to move it that much in order to get something out of the controller. So now I did actually try a strafe, and if you want to try it, it is the 1440 by 1081. It makes your weapon FOV just look so much smaller. I just like to stick to default when I'm making videos. I sometimes play a stretch, but not too much really. If you're on PC, these are my graphic settings. Alright, and language and accessibility, the only ones here that really matter. Colorblind mode and the flashbang effect. You want the flashbang effect to be on dark. You can mess around, it will change the color of the enemies, but I just like to stick to none. If you want to, you can go check out some of my build videos I have on YouTube. I have builds for most of the meta guns in XDEFIANT right now, so if you're interested, you can go check out my channel on that. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.